What is up, guys? It's time for a new tier list video. A lot has changed. We had a balance patch, we had Mewtwo releasing, we had Mewtwo nerfed already. So a lot of things that we have to consider putting into our tier list. As always, our first tier list is going to be a top and bot path tier list. And for the second tier list, we have a central area tier list. Always splitting those apart because they don't, it doesn't make a lot of sense to put a Pokemon into one tier list and not saying, does it go top, does it go bot, does it go central, because all of those are different, right? So let's just straight up start with the path tier list. First, we have Venusaur. I'm a fan of Solar Beam Venusaur, but I don't know if I could put it higher than a B tier. I think it's quite fine. I think it's quite solid, and it's something you can for sure pick. Gengar right now, it's pretty bad, I would say. Goes easily into C tier, especially in Path. I mean, it's somewhere between C and D for sure. Nothing I would recommend. Mr. Mime has dropped a decent amount, I would say. It's nothing too special right now. There's just so many better Pokemon you can pick. And yeah, Mr. Mime just, I don't know, maybe needs a few buffs again, but you already know what happened when, this Pokemon got a buff the last time. Snorlax is alright. I just think that, it's a decent Pokemon. I could see his competitive play from time to time. I think it's something you can totally play and still be fine on. Like B means those Pokemon are totally playable, but they're not going to just carry a game necessarily too hard, right? And those are like C and D are very questionable picks. And then A is anything that's, very, very solid. I think Gardevoir is a very solid Pokemon. I think it's easily A tier. It's always very consistent, has a good Unite move, has a good level 5 move. It just does very consistent things across the entire game. And has a way of just winning a game straight up a third with that Unite move. Absol is struggling pretty hard right now. I think Pursuit Absol is for sure playable. Nice Slash Absol, he's absolutely terrible. I tried it again a few days ago, and I was not happy, playing a Night Slash Pursuit. No, not Night Slash Sucker Punch used to be one of my favorite builds, and right now it just feels absolutely awful. Greedent, Greedent, he has a very high win rate Pokemon. Greedent's one of the highest win rate Pokemon, but I think it's just an 8-tier Pokemon. It's a Pokemon for people who know how to play it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. No one else plays Greedent. There's like maybe 5 or 6 Greedent players in the entire world, I would say. Besides that, no one plays it. Garchomp, I'm dropping down a tier to B tier. It's very difficult to place into Zashi and Mewtwo, and those are still very popular, and you just go down way too fast. But I do think it's still better than, any of the Pokemon. Like, it's still, again, B means you can pick those Pokemon and have success on. I think Lucario is easily back in A+ tier. I think it's very, very strong, but it's a skill-based Pokemon for sure. It's a very skill-based Pokemon, and if you bet on Lucario, you're gonna have a bad time. So it's a skill-based. It's for people who are very good at Lucario. I think it's going to be something you're going to see a lot again. Otherwise, yeah, don't touch it. Crustle is not amazing either. It goes into C tiers. You can play Rock Tomb and have success with it. But is it anything crazy? No. Is it completely griefing? I wouldn't say either of those. So, there's some good Rock Tomb Crustle players that can for sure make something happen. But yeah, D tier, Greninja. Again, always these physical 80 carries just don't work in Path. They just don't. They're terrible, and I wouldn't recommend playing because they're already struggling in Central Area right now as well. Like Cinderace, we can put already in here, Greninja. They're already struggling in Central Area, and then putting them into Path makes it just even worse. They need a level lead, they need a lot of damage for them to be useful. Town of Flame also goes into C tier to the other speedsters. I'd rather have those, in Path because they can always just kind of come back into the game by just, getting a KO onto a high-level Pokemon with the Unite moves or something. And Talon does actually have quite fine laning phase. Charizard feels absolutely terrible right now. Can't recommend playing this Pokemon even a single bit. I think Zeraora goes up into B tier when it comes to Path. I like the Pokemon a lot now. It has much earlier power spikes. It's still nothing too crazy, but for sure something you can consider playing if you enjoy it. And it goes easily A+ tier. Cram is alright. Put it into B tier. It's just a solid Pokemon. You can play it. You can win with it. You're gonna have a good time. Next up, Blastoise goes into the A tier as well. Very solid defender. Has multiple different builds you can play. Either Surf Hydro Pump or Water Spout Rapid Spin. Very good in both. Pikachu is alright. Nothing special. Nothing special in particular. Something you can play for sure, but don't expect too much. Clefable, easily A+ tier as well. Very good Pokemon, lots of healing. This Pokemon heals an insane amount and is very hard to take down. Gravity as well is still a good counter to a lot of things. Ninetales also A+ tier currently, probably the second, or like in Path, it might just be the best attacker, but there's one Pokemon that's still just in general better across the entire game that will rate higher, but it's a top 2 attacker currently when you pick it in Path. Wigglytuff is alright. I think it's a fine Pokemon. Again, nothing B, it's just nothing special, but it's alright. Slowbro, I mean, you can Slowbro goes into S tier because you need this Pokemon right now. I mean, you will see, obviously, of course, later talk about it, but you kind of need a Slowbro in the current meta to do something, because there's one Pokemon that needs to be shut down, and that makes Slowbro a very strong Pokemon. Machamp, nothing, I don't know, Machamp, it's alright, but yeah, every time I play it, I feel like I have a hard time actually winning games with it, personally. And I used to be someone who wins a lot of games on Machamp, and right now I feel like I do struggle quite a lot. Blissey also goes into S tier or A plus tier. I would always put it into A plus tier. So I would put these supports up here into A plus. There's 2 supports I would probably put in S tier in the end still, so they're just a bit above those. And Mamoswine is very solid again. I like Mamoswine. Is it A? Not sure. Is it B? Yeah, probably. I think it's a solid B as well. Something you can pick easily again and have a lot of success on. Sylveon is alright. Goes into B next to these attacker Pokemon. Decidueye is a much better lane Pokemon than other attacker, but it's still it needs an ally. It needs something that helps you get last its early game, or you just kind of try to just go for some stacking by dying. Also kind of is okay, but yeah, it needs to get level 7, and after it gets level 7, which is easier to do than Cinderace or Greninja, it becomes quite strong. Dragonite in Path is nothing I really would recommend. I don't like it. I don't think it's necessarily good. Got nerfed as well a bit, only on the Hyper Beam as well. Dragonite in Path just... It's not really it, but I think you can. I think it's rather have that than those, because it actually does a bit of damage early game. You can actually kill something with it. Serena feels pretty awful right now. It's still better than the D tier category. Trevenant is alright. I think Trevenant is still A tier. To me, Trevenant is just a good Pokemon still. Woodhammer, Hornleech, Unite Move have a lot of stun and impact. Aegislash, not quite yet back in A tier, but still in B tier. Hooper, to me, is easily S tier. This Pokemon drives me crazy, Hooper. Hyperspace Hole, Hooper Unbound. It just does way too much. It has so many things in its kit. It's absolutely wild. Duraludon, I mean, it's the one physical attacker you can play in Path and do fine on. I like Stealth a lot as well right now. I think Stealth is quite decent. Azumarill, I'm actually a much bigger fan of Azumarill. I think it's, I think I would put it probably into A tier. I think that is fair. I think it totally has its place up here. I think it's a tiny bit superior than those, but not by too much either. Espeon, I think, is still Stored Power Psybeam. At least I'm a big fan of it. I think it's very, very strong of a build. You can for sure play Delphox. Fire Blast, Fire Spin is actually quite good in Path, and I do think it's quite underrated as well. The only problem is that this Pokemon needs level 6 very badly, and level 6 as a Path Pokemon is quite difficult. If you have an XP share Pokemon, it's up here. If you don't, it's up here. So I can't just always have, XP share lane partner as a thing for my tier list, because it's not always going to happen, right? It rarely even happens that you have your lane partner with XP share. So I have to base it off not having XP share, right? Glaceon is right as well. I think you can totally play Sigispear in Path. Quite decent. Buzzwole, I'm going to put into A tier. Buzzwole is very 50-50, but man, this Pokemon can be so oppressive and difficult to play against. It stuns so much, it does so much damage, very strong early on. It's very, very scary to face. Tyranitar goes into D tier, just awful Pokemon in the current meta. It's way too slow. The game is already over before it even starts doing anything, and in Path it's even worse. Mew, I think, goes into A plus tier. I know a lot of people have dropped Mew, but it's still one of the best attacker Pokemon you can pick in top and bot path. Scyther, it's not really it right now. Dodrio is still very, very strong as well. Not sure if it's A plus worthy, but I'd probably stay A plus worthy as well, easily. It's just a very, very annoying and strong Pokemon, especially in ranked and solo queue. It does a lot. It's still very common in pro play as well. So it's a very strong and mean Pokemon. Scizor is alright, gonna put it into B tier, but nothing too special either, but I do think it's quite strong from time to time. Sableye, B tier, nothing really crazy, nothing special either. Zoroark to me is still A plus tier even after the nerfs. Does a lot of damage, has very good laning phase as well. Level 5, out level 5 you just run over games and destroy your opponents. Urshifu, I think both Urshifus. I know playing with Kapfu in Path is quite annoying. Actually, I mean, I think just because of Kapfu, I think I would put it into A tier, because it can be quite difficult the early game, but it's still very, very strong of a Pokemon, of course. Has to be, it's legendary, right? So it has to be OP, of course. Next up, we have Dragapult. Don't play this D tier. Comfey sadly goes into S tier. I don't want to put it up there, but it's not because of this Pokemon. Of course, it's because something else has entered the game that makes it S tier. Goodra, I think, is actually quite decent. I do like Goodra a lot. I don't know if I can put into A or B tier, though. My B tier is just fit up, but like all these Pokemon are just quite average. But like they're all good picks. They're all fine things to play, right? You're like not grieving if you pick those. I think they're all quite fine to play. I think Goodra still needs a tiny bit more before it becomes an A tier Pokemon. But B is already fine. I dropped my B plus tier. So I have now B, C, and D. Before I had like a B plus, B, C. So yeah, this is kind of like just, you know, any spectrum between, you know, good B and bad B. Lapras, still apparently S tier Pokemon. The Unite move has so much impact. It has insane late game team fighting. Can't do much about that. Zacian as well, still S tier. Easily very strong Pokemon. Chandelure is still an A after the nerfs. Dropped a tiny bit from S to A tier, I would say, or from A plus to A. But still something you can for sure pick and have a lot of success on. Umbreon also still not S tier anymore, I would say, but easily A plus. Meanlock Wish is very strong. Foul Play Wish, Foul Play Snarl also still work. It's still a very annoying Pokemon to deal with. Leafeon. Leafeon is an interesting one because it actually has a terrible win rate, but I do believe that this Pokemon is insanely busted still. But I think A tier. I mean, maybe it's A plus tier, but I think A tier is also totally, you know, fine to put it into. Inteleon now, this is the Pokemon I want to put into S tier because it's just, it is overpowered. I have to say, like, Inteleon is just overpowered. Liquidation does way too much damage. One auto tech into Liquidation if your passive is up, KOs almost everything is squishing the entire game. And now we're up to the biggest offender of the current patch, which is Mewtwo. Mewtwo, best Pokemon in the entire game right now. Might even have to make a God tier just for this one. But yeah, this is by far the best Pokemon that we currently have. I mean, I guess I could add a Bro above, right? You know, make it God tier, might as well, so that, you know, it's up there on its own. You make it purple as well. Yeah, Mewtwo God tier. What a surprise. This Pokemon is not fair and probably needs a few more nerfs. I think it's easier to take it down right now than it was, of course, before the first nerf. But of course, it's still by far the best. This is my path tier list. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, and always let me know what you disagree and what you agree with. And now we head into the central area tier list. First, we have again Venusaur going into, I would say A. I think it's quite reasonable as a central area Pokemon. The problem with central area is always if there's one very broken Pokemon, it's just hard not to pick anything else over it, right? But I think it's still quite A. Gengar was a bit higher, but I think Gengar is just, it's very difficult to play Gengar right now. Me, as one of the players who play Gengar a crazy amount and is very good on Gengar, I struggle with this right now. It's very difficult to have a lot of impact on Gengar. Mr. Mime, of course, not the central area Pokemon. I think Gardevoir is actually quite decent. I think I'm gonna put it into either A plus. I think it's A plus. I think it's quite decent to me. I do enjoy playing Gardevoir still, and I think it has quite a good place. Absol, I think Pursuit. I think Pursuit can be A tier, but it's just too unreliable. If you don't crit, you're done for. And that's what I hate the most about, you know, Absol or Pursuit right now. Pursuit is the best build. You have to play Pursuit to have success on Absol. And it's just too RNG based. It is too RNG based. If you don't crit, the game may just be over. And it's not a good feeling. Garchomp goes into B tier as well. Quite alright as a central area Pokemon, but also dropping a tiny bit because it's very difficult to play it into current meta Pokemon. Lucario in central area is nothing I would necessarily recommend. I don't think it's all too good. I think a D tier is probably necessary in this. Let's see if I have a D tier Pokemon. I guess Pikachu, there we go. Pikachu goes into D tier, don't do it. Charizard right now I think is absolutely awful. I don't know what it is about it, but it just really doesn't get anything done. I played it one time and my Unite move felt like a ticket, people. So can't really recommend. Greninja is alright, but also not having the best time in the current meta. I think Cinderace is a bit better. I do think Cinderace has a place being played sometimes. But nothing too crazy either. Talonflame is quite alright. Do like Talonflame. I think Zeraora goes up to A tier. I'm a big fan of Zeraora right now. I think it deserves to be a spot up here. Cram is also decent. Goes into B tier. Ninetales central area. I mean, it works. Do you really want to do it? Not really. Can you do it? Yes, if you really want to. If you're bored, you can for sure do it. Machamp central area just gets outscaled too much. Not a big fan. I think the Sidra is actually quite strong. Spirit Check is one of those moves that just is very difficult to play against, and I do think the Sidra in Center Area is quite underrated. Dragon Knight, I think, is solid A. After the nerfs to Hyper Beam, I think Outrage is actually quite fine. I think Outrage alone is going to keep it in the A tier, even though Hyper Beam might be a bit worse now. Sylveon, I do like Mystic Fire Center Area a lot, and do think it has a place for sure to be played. If you want to. Again, B tier is like, yeah, Pokemon you can really play but don't really have to. Serena is just absolutely terrible, but Central Area, at least it gets to level 6 faster, so maybe you can start doing certain things. Aegislash in Central Area is actually quite fine as well, but nothing I would necessarily recommend playing over other all-rounders right now. Dralodon, still to me a solid A tier Pokemon when it comes to Central Area. Espeon, Stout Power, Psybeam is actually quite good in Central Area, but I don't want to put it too high either, somewhere between A and B. Yeah, I think probably B. But I do like Stored Power, Psybeam, Central Area, Espeon. It is quite good. Quite good. Azumarill is alright, I think, just because it's a decently strong Pokemon. Gonna put into B tier right here. Glaceon to me is still very strong. Icy Wind, Icicle Spear both do a lot of damage and are for sure very something you have to consider. Delphox as well, with that low cooldown Unite move, Mystic Fire and Flame Charge, even though there's the problem right now, there's low point and click damage, but Delphox at the same point also gained access to Shedinja Doll, which allows you to outplay point and click moves. So I think that makes up for it quite a decent amount. Scyther, I don't know, Scyther is just not good. Scizor Jungle is terrible. I hate, whenever I see someone go Scizor into Central Area, I dive it on the inside. Don't do it, it's nothing you really want to do. Mew in Central Area is alright, but it's nothing I would necessarily recommend as well right now. It gets play in tournaments, but I think that's just something for tournaments. I don't think necessarily it's something you want to do in ranked. Dodrio, still easily A+ tier in Central Area here as well. Same for Zorak. If you get to level 5 very fast, you take over the game. Urshifu is interesting. I think Surging Strikes is still S tier. I think Wicked Blow is A+ tier, I would say. Dragapult is okay. Again, low of point and click right now, which makes it very difficult for Dragon Dance to actually live through things. So I'm going to put it into B tier. Buzzwole, it's actually quite decent in Central Area, because you get to level 5 very fast, but I can't really put it much higher than A, B tier. Tyranitar, again, I just think the game is just way too fast right now for Tyranitar. I do not like when anyone plays Tyranitar. It's nothing great. Goodra in Central Area is actually, I think Goodra in Central Area is actually quite good. Because it gets to level 8 and 9 very fast, can take over the game. Only problem is it doesn't have last setting for objectives, which is difficult because Central Area Pokemon kind of need a bit of doing that, and it also can't do objectives on its own, so I probably still a C tier. Lapras, also not too bad of a Central Area Pokemon in theory, but just outclassed. Zacian goes into S tier still. Very strong Central Area Pokemon. Chandelure goes into the A+ tier to the other attacker Pokemon. And then Inteleon, also S tier in this for sure. I mean, maybe I'm rating Inteleon too high, but I do think this Pokemon is absolutely busted and deserves to be in a very high spot. We're also going to go towards Leafeon, which I think is still very strong. The win rates don't really look like Leafeon is doing all too well, but I'm not sure why that's the case. Maybe because Leafeon is a bit harder to play than other Pokemon, but Leafeon is still a nightmare to deal with. Then we have Mewtwo. Guess where Mewtwo goes, guys. I know it's very hard to guess, but Mewtwo X goes into the God tier area. Wow, who would have thought? And from these last Pokemon, I don't think anything. I mean, Blastoise Central Area is quite fine as well, but nothing really I would recommend in the current meta. Besides that, I don't think any of these Pokemon should go to a Central Area. These two are not out yet, of course, but Blaziken's for sure going to be something up here as well. And Mewtwo Y is also going to be between God S and A+ tier. It's going to depend on if it's even better than X, right? It's going to depend on this one, because both are going to be... You can only have one per team, so it's going to be quite interesting to see which one's going to be the superior one. And that's what you're going to go for, I guess so. Well, it depends if you want to range attacker or melee attacker, but yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this tier list. Let me know in the comments, as always, what you disagreed the most with. It's always very interesting to read your guys' opinions. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!